All right. Looking at the WR Arcana in just a second. Took me for work again. All right. Take a look at this thing. On first glance, it looked pretty amazing.
The wisdom of ages rides aloft mother wind.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it looks pretty similar to the art, right? Her face just looked a bit different. Like Valve usually with their female arcanas just show off some legs. See their starter pack. Again. I feel like I don't know, like her face came at a different angle. Artwork.
Leaves in my wake.
It's such a weird attack
Prepare
animation.
for battle.
I don't know why, but
Easy breezy.
it's like
Already moving.
can't really see her take back her bow.
I go.
Like,
My purpose. Want to see something neat? Each shot is just practice for the one that follows. As the arrow flies. I'm way ahead. Of course. I was born for this. It'll be more than enough. On it.
oh, and I actually didn't realize it shows the amount of arrows that way. That goes into the
Let's do this.
kind of distracting.
Quick shot. Come on.
Huh.
Oh,
First blood.
Oh, that's cool.
Both ways.
That's actually.
on my way.
Dude, is this Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Onward. A windy scepter.
See chat. Streamlabs. I actually have
sure
Wind
it's
Ranger
this way.
behind me, which
On it.
okay,
How
so
about blindfolded?
I want to look at the DPC thing while we have some time.
Already moving. Force staff. I go. Leaves in my wake.
Jolly little Call of Duty slide right there.
Pretty sure it's this way. Did you really think you could run from me?
Yeah, they made it look
Focus.
awesome.
I'm way
It's
ahead.
such a giant effect. Tease. I mean,
As the arrow flies.
oh, how do you guys feel about that? Like that? Next question.
I gust on.
swear that's pretty just what I always say, and then you
That distance? No, here comes the good part. One for all of you.
there's the
As the wind blows.
that only happened when I'm ulting.
It's all in the bow, and the arm, and the super pointy arrow tip.
You always see that thing behind you when you power shot.
Of course. Learn to share. Make room.
Oh, that's
Check this one.
oh.
On
They
my
like the
way. Make room. Check this one. One for all of you. How
Even
about
made this-
blindfolded?
even made the channeling.
That distance? No problem. Want to see something neat? Learn to how that. I want to see something neat.
Oh. In the deep. He does sound a little bit like Puck. That is so true. And yeah. Um. So with this update, like, I mean, we can read through it really quickly. Let me just see how. Our tournament. I know. Okay, so let's read through this. Okay, so we've heard a lot of complaints recently about the state of DPC, and we agree that there is more that we should do. We want to use this blog to walk you through what happened before, what our thoughts were, what we will do. So, I mean, every time Valve comes out with an announcement, people get pretty excited because they come out with every couple of months. Once the extent of the COVID-19 pandemic became posted about our plans to delay the international and started pre-booking various alternative dates and countries around. Again, the reason and research national base how different pandemic scenarios could play out with the hope that we'd be able to host if possible. Since the spring DPC events could no operate anymore, we started reaching out to the organizers. Wanted to do some of those organizers share their desires to run events to cover. So they didn't really say this though. I mean, now they're saying it, but I feel like the community would have appreciated them just saying, "Hey, what's going on?" And you can communicate once a season. That's allowed. So as we approach the middle of the summer, the volatility of the pandemic had grown significantly. We became very concerned with the impact it would have on future events, and the global situation meant that cross-regional play would be unlikely for a period of time, and we have seen scenarios globally in other competitions where teams from certain countries had to be excluded from qualifying due to the abrupt level of travel restrictions and complications. Yeah, I mean, it's a mess. I mean, I think we should blame Valve for canceling. Yeah, that's for sure. Definitely the right call. I think people give them a little bit of a hard time. Situation. What's going on right now is kind of unprecedented, and they have to deal with so many different countries that kind of okay that they haven't been much. I know that that's not controversial, but if you read on, we'll see what happens. While we had already assumed that having a crowd for the DPC events cards, we wanted to at least have confidence in all teams together for cross-region competition. We felt that was a very important component of how we allocate DPC. We were also unsure of when the international itself would happen, and given the significant lead time needed, the increased spread of the virus made it harder to model out time frame with confidence. Potential for the DPC season and its narrative feeling detached from the path towards the international was negative for us. Doing that would also necessitate a DPC point decay system, which in and of itself isn't a bad thing, but having to abruptly introduce DK mid-season if the landscape changes has some additional downsides. Furthermore, we had also received feedback from a couple of organizers that were either worried about the quality of the broadcast being lower or reluctant to want to operate DPC events in the fall altogether. While neither the cross-region competition nor the relative distance to the international are absolute requirements, we felt that the DPC, as both of the function of the international and also as a coherent product for fans, would be better served by holding them off for now, given that our plan was that we'd make the upcoming months open and clear for other leagues and events to operate. Well, they do that, but okay. Our approach historically has been to want third-party tournaments to be able to exist outside of the international, though the degree of that has been fluid over the years as demands from fans and players for more structured circuits increase. Our hope was that we could both achieve a better and more coherent relationship between DPC and TI by approaching it this way, as well as still allowing for third-party events, with the overall end result for fans still being that there would be content to fall. Okay, but it's not just about the fans. I mean, like, it's about treating the players right too. I mean, you gotta let people know if they have a job. I mean, it's like you're working at a company, and to be upfront whether you're gonna be laying people off or what have you. Like, you gotta say what you're gonna do. I mean, fans, we have enough entertainment. That's really not the problem here. The problem is, I feel like all of these tournament organizers, all of these teams have no idea what their future is like. But I guess they're trying to pander a little bit more to the fan side. Because in the end, that's who it is for. That's who Dota is for. But at the same time, I feel like it would be respectful for them to communicate more with the tournament. Or soon after we announced that we were not immediately, and we received a lot of negative feedback from fans. I think that's a lot of the points that were raised were reasonable criticism towards us, especially because we did not communicate what our intentions were and what they could expect in the future. For this upcoming competitive season, there are going to be at least 4 third-party events in League. Yes, I have 3 in China. So 3 tournaments in China where the pandemic started, and we have no idea their numbers are true. Kind of interesting. Valve has a weird relationship with China. I don't really understand. Okay, and a few others that are still in the planning stage, not able to time. However, there are still going to be a lot of teams, casters, organizers, and fans around the world that are not going to be meeting based on the current trajectory. That is our fault for not pushing on those and support. Okay, well, they admitted something being their fault. That's pretty much, never really seen Valve do that. But complicated thing with hosting these tournaments is that countries that are doing well with pandemic aren't going to want to host an event, and ones that are doing poorly would want to host an event, and it's only going to get worse. So that's what's kind of scary, because looking at Russia, nobody's really wearing a mask in Russia. You have a giant event like this, yikes. It's unclear whether or not, like, are they talking about these being online or offline? It says, kind of unclear whether it's. With that in mind, we started reaching out to many more tournament organizers to offer help and financial support to be able to coverage globally for the year. We expect that these events will gradually announced over the as soon as they are ready to communicate. A piece of feedback we got from players as well as fans was wanting more clarity in what we were thinking, likely DPC and to resume. Yeah, our outlook right now is that we are anticipating the start of the DPC to be in the first month or two, 2021. Yeah, I mean, I think people are a bit like unrealistic when they demand dates from Valve. Like, how can Valve possibly know? Anyway, our outlook right now is that we are anticipating the start of the DPC first month or two, 2021. Our hope is that by the time the first DPC concludes, travel limitations will be more predictable and spontaneous restrictions will be likely, thus allowing for more majors with cross-reaching to happen. we are also operating under the assumption that most likely outcome is to happen in Stockholm in August 20. Yeah, I mean, pretty big of them to just admit it right there. It was pretty much as expected, but I think if they could have included a line that was about what they're gonna do with the money, for the battle pass, whether it's just gonna be going into 2021, or what, like we don't even know what they're gonna do with the battle pass money. So we've also heard your feedback and concerns about Dota TV streaming rights. This has been a topic we've discussed openly in the past, and as we gathered more data, our thoughts have evolved slightly. We ultimately still believe that community own commentary of a tournament net positive value to fans and the competitive scene. We also believe that in the long term, the tournaments themselves benefit from additional exposure to fans of those community streamers. Well, so Kyle won't feel good about that. However, it is true that this can cause a short-term loss of revenue as well as a reduced ability to monetize more efficiently for tournament organizers. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of a fan of the accessibility of just joining a stream that isn't necessarily a tournament stream. But it is obviously a complicated issue. I just think it would be pretty cool if other sports were like this, right? Like if you could watch basketball and learn from LeBron James, like his opinions on the game. It's like the same way we do it with Gork. Starting September 15th, the Dota license will be updated to reflect the following. Organizers that run Dota 2 tournaments will have to provide community streamers with a reasonable and simple to execute set of non-monetary requirements, such as displaying the organizer's sponsors on their having a slight delay. Community streamers will be able to use the Dota TV feed in their broadcast as long as they agree to those requirements. While we believe this will provide more certainty and confidence to streamers to be able to cast without a lot of turmoil, while at the same time protecting some interest that tournament organizers have. To avoid possible last-minute issues, we would advise casters that want to stream a tournament to coordinate with the organizer in advance to ensure that they are able to fulfill the requirement present. Tournament organizers and relevant parties that have questions, feel free to reach out. Yeah, so let's unpack this a bit. I feel like this is going to be pretty hard to enforce. So community streamers having to have sponsors of the actual tournament. The issue with this is the conflict that streamers have with their own sponsors. So I don't know how like a specific streamer's sponsor will feel about tournament organizer sponsors being on there. So like what if the tournament's sponsored by Pepsi and you're sponsored by Coke? That's going to be a complete mess. So I don't know how they're going to enforce this and how that's going to work. I think it's either they can do it or can't do it. Really hard to do an in between here. From moving forward, we kind of learned that they're planning these events in EU and SIS in China, but we don't really know. It looks like they're offline, but again, that could change. Yeah, it's kind of sad that, I mean, it seems like Valve doesn't know what they're gonna do. I don't know why they couldn't have just mentioned. Everybody wants to know what they're gonna do with all of this battle pass money. It's the most money that's ever come into a battle pass before already, whatever. And it's just like, what are we gonna do? I mean, is this just all going to TI? I mean, a private company doesn't tell you what they're doing with their money, but the thing is that it is crowdfunded. At the same time, it's like if Apple said a percentage of iPhone sales go into some, various benefits for all Apple customers, and you didn't see those benefits coming in. It's like them just hiding that. I mean, that's the thing with the Battle Pass system. It's pretty complex because on one hand, you are paying for the cosmetics, you're paying for the voice lines and all of that, but you're also paying for the prize pool. But the idea is that I think 99% of people, when they buy the Battle Pass, I mean, they're buying it to buy the cosmetics and the voice lines and all that stuff. It's just a side benefit that it supports. game. So I really do want to open it to discussion here. What do you guys think about this announcement from Valve? And we can have a little discussion about it, cause I'm interested to see what your thoughts are. Time while kind of think about your thoughts on this. I'm thinking, I mean, tier 1 players are always going to be fine, I think, in the near future. It's more so just how the tier 2 scene is going to develop with this. It already wasn't really developing. And now Valve is kind of scrambling to keep just the tier 1 scene afloat. I don't feel like they're going to dedicate any resources to the tier 2 scene, and I feel like certain projects like the new player experience are going to be put on hold because Valve is already a very lean company. So I don't know the kind of resources they're going to have available to them to output things like the new player experience. I think the WR Arcana and things like that were finished way before now. And then they just released them as they kind of go along the summer. But I'm a little bit worried of their plan to sort of foster a tier 2 scene, because this was the announcement that I expected them to unpack that a bit, but they didn't. So, because I mean, I know many players who are in like the top 500, top 300, whatever, that are just waiting for some kind of news from Valve to open up a league. I mean, they could use the fact that online tournaments are more popular now to their advantage. Like, they can now they can perfect the online tournament. They can make online tournaments awesome right now. They have the time to do it, and there's a necessity. The thing is that when you've got TI going on, you could argue, I don't have time to do the tier 2 scene because we got to focus on this big giant event. But now it's like, all right, now you can really perfect the tier 2. You can perfect the online tournament. You can have fun mini games in between games. You can have fun things to do with chat. The tier 2 scene isn't just about, I'll answer that in a second. The tier 2 scene isn't just about the fans. It's more about the future of the player base. Like, if you're just starting a game and you're 13, 14, 15 years old and you're just starting to learn a game, and now that gaming is becoming more of a career path and more of an intense thing, are you going to go to the game that has a league? Or you're going to or you're going to go to a game like Dota that just kind of, yeah, you get stacks on stacks if you're super good at the game, but if you're not, then you're like, that's not really a worthy career choice. So at the very least, I think they're going to lose a lot of enthusiasm with IMR players who might just be good enough at video games to change games, which would kind of suck. Sorry, Emily, what update do we have on DPC? So the bulk of the update is just that it was just a couple things. One, they've updated us on what they did during the springtime. So during the springtime, they really scrambled to try and get a TI going. Sort of not necessarily in August, but pushing it back a little bit, figuring out what they're gonna do. Or was pushing it back, or maybe moving locations, but all in all, it didn't come to that. The summertime was sort of figuring out what they're gonna do with the DPC point system. But again, the bulk of it is the fact that they scrambled and scrambled and scrambled, and now moving forward, that they're going to have a couple of tournaments in Russia, Europe, whatever, and China. We don't really necessarily know if they're offline or online, but I would say one of the most interesting things is how they're going to deal with the Dota TV and streaming thing, streamers casting the games, because this has been a talked about issue for many years, and Valve has actually just sidestepped it constantly, and now they've kind of opened up about it. And the bulk of it is that streamers now have to sort of speak with the tournament organizers and advertise their sponsors, which, as I said before, I think is going to be really hard to enforce. But Valve is on the side of the streamers saying it is a net positive that stream, you know, stream those tournaments. I think it's good. I think it as competition. I think it sparks competition. You know, if a tournament organizer is like, hey, you know, all these viewers are getting siphoned off to other streams, like figure out a way to get better, figure out a way to be better than those streamers. You know, you have the resources, you have more money than them. They're streaming from their bedroom and you can't beat them. Like, that's kind of sad. And if you can beat them, like, which they are, they're still beating them. They're still like have 4 times their viewership. It's not that big of a deal. But why not 10 times their viewership? Like, they should have the resources to do so. Yeah. So much it. If you guys don't have any more questions, I think I'll go back to checking in on how that tournament is going. Oh, it looks like it's up again. Oh, awesome. I want to share with you guys this tournament. It's a tournament that I'm casting. It's really, really cool. It's a new player tournament that is honestly fantastic. People have to do certain contracts throughout the game while they play. So they, you know, example, there's like a CS:GO contract where you have to plant like an ironwood somewhere in their side of the map, and they have to sort of treat it like the bomb has been planted, and they have to go and defuse the bomb. They like find it. So there's just like funny things like that, or the fact that you like can't go through the river or what have you. So I definitely strongly recommend check that out. Guys, I think I'm gonna go. Let me know if you have any questions about this update from Valve. It also crashed the server. All right, y'all. I'll see you guys later. See you in the next video. We have another Dota Hero Basics tutorial coming out within the next couple weeks. They'll start to come out faster. Working on a few cool things to do that. So yeah.